It was the early 1990s, and the music industry was buzzing with new talent. In a world dominated by giants like Michael Jackson, it was hard to stand out, especially when you were just a 2-year-old boy trying to make a name for yourself. But Justin Timberlake, barely out of his pre-teens, had something special about him. His voice, his moves, his charm, they all made him a rising star. Still, he was just a kid, and even though he had talent, there were moments when he didn't quite know what to make of it all. In those days, Justin was still a member of Time's NSYNC, a boy band that had yet to become the worldwide sensation it was destined to be. He wasn't the superstar we know today, but his dreams were big, and his heart was full of ambition. However, even with all the excitement surrounding his career, Justin was still just a boy from Tennessee who idolized the music legends who came before him. One of those legends, of course, was the king of pop himself, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was an icon by the time Justin started his career. His music was everywhere, his moves were legendary, and his influence was unmatched. Michael wasn't just a pop star, he was a global phenomenon. Every artist who entered the music scene at the time, especially someone as young as Justin, looked up to Michael Jackson as the ultimate example of success. So, imagine how Justin must have felt when he found out that he would actually meet Michael Jackson in person. It was a dream come true, but also a nerve-wracking experience for the young artist. The meeting came about in the most unexpected way. Justin was in a recording studio, just doing what he did best, working on his music. The energy was electric, and everyone around him was buzzing with excitement as usual. But that day, something different happened. Someone walked into the room who made everyone stop in their tracks. It was none other than Michael Jackson himself. At that moment, Justin was caught off guard. He had met a few famous people by then, but this was different. This was Michael Jackson, the man whose music had shaped his childhood, whose dances he had practiced in front of mirrors countless times. Here he was, in the same room. Justin couldn't believe it. Michael's presence was magnetic. He had an aura that instantly commanded respect. But there was something else, an undeniable kindness in his eyes. It wasn't just the superstar status. It was something deeper. Michael Jackson had the ability to make you feel like you mattered, even if you were just a kid. And for Justin, who had looked up to Michael for so long, this was a moment that would change everything. At first, Justin was a bit nervous. He didn't know what to say to Michael, how to even approach someone so famous. But Michael wasn't the type to make others feel small or out of place. Instead of waiting for Justin to speak, Michael broke the ice with a warm, genuine smile. It was as if he had been waiting for this moment too. He greeted Justin with the kind of enthusiasm that made the young boy feel like he was the most important person in the room. "Hey, how are you doing?" Michael asked with a friendly tone, his voice warm and full of encouragement. Justin, overwhelmed but excited, found himself at a loss for words for a moment. But soon, his admiration for Michael Jackson gave way to a simple, heartfelt response. "I'm doing great, just trying to learn as much as I can," Justin said, his voice a little shy but full of sincerity. Michael nodded, clearly impressed by Justin's eagerness. "That's the key to everything, kid," he said, his voice calm, yet full of wisdom. "You've got to keep learning, keep pushing yourself." For a 2-year-old Justin, who was just starting to understand the reality of fame and success, those words hit hard. But what made it even more special was the fact that it wasn't just advice from any celebrity, it was advice from someone who had been through it all. Michael Jackson was speaking to him like an equal, and in that moment, Justin felt seen. The conversation that followed wasn't just casual chatter. Michael didn't just talk about the music business. He talked about life. He talked about staying true to yourself, about not letting fame change who you are, about the importance of creativity, and about respecting your craft. It was more than a few words of encouragement. It was a lesson in how to approach life and your career. As the conversation went on, Justin realized that Michael wasn't just a famous musician, he was a mentor. Someone who had a deep understanding of what it took to succeed while staying grounded. It wasn't just about the music, it was about maintaining your integrity, no matter how big you got. Michael Jackson, the legend, wasn't just offering guidance, he was giving Justin a glimpse into a world that few could understand. He was showing him the ropes of surviving and thriving in an industry that could eat you alive if you weren't careful. Justin, in awe of the moment, hung on to every word. He had never heard anything like it before. Sure, he had received advice from his family and colleagues, but hearing it from Michael Jackson, someone who had been at the top for so long, someone who had seen it all, made it feel different. Michael wasn't just telling Justin what he wanted to hear, he was telling him what he needed to hear. And it wasn't just about being a great musician, it was about being a great person. That day, Justin left the meeting with Michael, feeling something he hadn't expected. A deep sense of clarity. For the first time, he understood what it really meant to be an artist. It wasn't about fame or popularity, it was about staying true to your vision, working tirelessly to perfect your craft, and most importantly, maintaining the right mindset. Michael Jackson had given him not just career advice, but life advice. But perhaps the most surprising part of that encounter wasn't just the advice or the mentorship, it was the way Michael made Justin feel. Michael didn't talk down to him, or treat him like a starstruck fan. He treated him as a peer, as a fellow artist. This made the experience even more profound for Justin. Michael Jackson, a man who had seen and done it all, took the time to speak to him as an equal. That was the kind of mentorship that changed lives. The meeting was brief, but it left a lasting impression on Justin. He wasn't the same kid who walked into the room earlier that day. He had been changed, not just by the conversation, but by the generosity of spirit that Michael Jackson had shown him. It wasn't just advice that Justin would carry with him, it was a moment in time that would influence everything he did from that day forward. As Justin left the studio that day, his heart was full. He had met his idol, and that encounter had turned into something far more meaningful than he could have ever imagined. The words Michael had shared with him would stay in his heart forever, guiding him through every challenge, every triumph, and every difficult decision in his future. And from that day on, Justin knew that his journey in the music world wasn't just about making music, it was about staying true to himself, no matter what. The meeting between Justin Timberlake and Michael Jackson wasn't just a casual encounter. It was a pivotal moment in Justin's young career, one that would continue to shape him for years to come. Although they had only spoken for a short while, that brief interaction was not over. After the initial meeting, Michael, recognizing the spark in the young boy, pulled him aside for a private conversation. It was an unexpected moment of mentorship, and for Justin, it felt like everything had suddenly come full circle. The nervous excitement he had felt at meeting his idol was now mixed with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This wasn't just a handshake or a fleeting exchange of pleasantries. Michael Jackson, a true legend, was taking the time to offer guidance to someone just starting their own journey in the music industry. And for Justin, it felt like an incredible opportunity, one he had never dreamed of, but was now so grateful for. Michael's approach wasn't rushed. He didn't try to get straight to business or force anything on Justin. Instead, he made sure to make the young artist feel at ease, giving him the space to speak and share his own thoughts. Justin, still in awe, didn't know where to begin. But Michael, with his calm and gentle nature, knew exactly how to guide the conversation. Michael wasn't just interested in talking about music. He wanted to understand Justin as a person. What were his dreams? What did he hope to achieve in the industry? He wanted to know what made Justin tick and what would drive him forward. Justin, still a little shy, found himself opening up. He spoke about his passion for music, the challenges of being in a boy band at such a young age, and how much he admired Michael's ability to constantly reinvent himself while staying true to his core artistry. He shared his hopes of making it as a solo artist someday, but also expressed the fear and doubt that sometimes crept into his mind. Would he be able to live up to the pressure? Could he find his own voice in such a crowded industry? Listening intently, Michael nodded in understanding. He had been there. He knew what it was like to start young and to feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. But instead of offering the usual advice that Justin might have expected, something along the lines of working hard or never giving up, Michael gave him something far more profound. He spoke about the importance of staying grounded, no matter how high you rise. Fame, Michael warned, could be a powerful thing. It could lift you up, but it could also break you down if you weren't careful. Don't let the world tell you who you should be, Michael said softly. The most important thing is to always be true to yourself. Fame can be fleeting, but your art, your authenticity, those things will stay with you forever. People will try to tell you what's cool, but it's your heart, your creativity, and your vision that will make you stand out in the end. One did, for Bren, people one did, creativity, and to 5. For Justin, these words were like a light bulb going off in his head. He had always been focused on trying to please others, his fans, his bandmates, the music producers, and there was a constant pressure to fit into a certain mold. But hearing Michael say this, hearing someone who had achieved everything he could ever dream of, speak so humbly and passionately about staying true to oneself, made Justin realize something important. Michael wasn't just an entertainer, he was a true artist. Someone who refused to be boxed in by expectations. Michael continued, sharing stories from his own life about the challenges of being in the spotlight. He spoke of how, early in his career, he had struggled with feeling misunderstood. He had faced criticism, been told he wasn't good enough, and had even been pressured to change his style to fit the mainstream. But, as Michael put it was when he finally started to believe in his own unique voice that everything changed. If you follow your heart and stay true to your creativity, people will follow you, Michael said. Don't ever let anyone tell you who you should be. This was a powerful moment for Justin. Up until then, he had been trying so hard to fit into a specific mold, to be the perfect pop star, the perfect member of Time's NSYNC. But hearing Michael Jackson talk about authenticity and self-belief planted a seed of confidence in him. Justin realized that he didn't have to follow the trends or try to live up to someone else's idea of success. He could make his own path, with his own style, and people would recognize and appreciate his uniqueness. But the advice didn't stop there. Michael also spoke about the importance of work ethic. Yes, staying true to yourself was key. But talent alone wasn't enough. The music business is tough, Michael explained. It's not just about being talented. You have to be disciplined, dedicated, and always willing to put in the work. Don't ever take anything for granted. Success doesn't come easy, and if you want to be at the top, you need to be ready to sacrifice and work harder than anyone else. This wasn't just about singing and dancing, it was about the mindset of an artist. Michael's words left a lasting impression on Justin, who took them to heart. He wasn't just being told how to succeed as an entertainer, he was being shown how to succeed as an artist who could weather the storm, stay grounded, and still thrive creatively. After that conversation, Justin walked away from the meeting feeling like he had gained something invaluable, something far more precious than just a few tips on how to make it in the music business. He had received the kind of mentorship that most people could only dream of. He didn't just feel encouraged, he felt transformed. Michael had given him a sense of direction, a roadmap for how to navigate the challenges ahead. What made Michael's advice so powerful was that it wasn't just about making great music. It was about understanding who you were as an artist and staying true to that vision, no matter the obstacles. Michael had faced those same obstacles, yet he had come out on top, not because he conformed to expectations, but because he built his own legacy on his own terms. For Justin, it was as if the blinders had been removed. He could see clearly now. It wasn't just about success in the traditional sense. It was about creating something that was his, something that felt true to his heart. Justin's confidence in his own abilities grew from that day forward. It wasn't the flashy moments on stage or the accolades he was after anymore. It was the journey of creating music that mattered to him and to others. Music that would stand the test of time. As he went on to build his solo career, Justin carried Michael's words with him like a compass, guiding him through the highs and lows of the industry. Every decision, every song, every performance was touched by the wisdom Michael had shared with him that day. Michael had given Justin more than just advice. He had given him the strength and confidence to follow his own path, and to do it with integrity, authenticity, and unwavering dedication. That conversation between Michael Jackson and Justin Timberlake remains one of the most significant moments in Justin's life and career. It wasn't just a casual chat, it was a life-changing lesson, one that shaped the artist Justin would become. And even though the world would never see that moment, it was one of the most meaningful parts of Justin's journey. A private exchange between mentor and protege that would continue to echo in his work for years to come. As the years passed, Justin Timberlake's career began to take off. He wasn't the 2-year-old boy who had nervously met his idol, Michael Jackson, anymore. He was growing into his own as an artist, starting to make decisions that would ultimately shape his future. But through it all, Michael's words echoed in his mind. The lessons he had learned from that brief but powerful conversation would become a constant guide in his life, helping him stay true to himself in the face of growing fame and expectation. Justin's rise to stardom didn't happen overnight. After Time's, NSYNC's early success, Justin faced a turning point. He was ready to break away from the group and venture out as a solo artist, a move that could make or break his career. But stepping out on his own wasn't an easy decision. The pressure to succeed was enormous, and Justin often found himself questioning whether he had what it took to make it on his own. It was in these moments of doubt that Michael's advice became his anchor. The words Michael had shared about staying true to himself, maintaining authenticity, and not letting fame change who you are, became more than just advice. They became Justin's philosophy for success. Every decision he made, whether it was about music, style, or even his public image, was influenced by that conversation they had years earlier. When Justin started working on his first solo album, Justified, he had no idea how the world would respond. There was a lot riding on it. After all, *NSYNC had been a household name, and there was the fear of whether Justin could stand on his own in the shadow of that massive success. But rather than trying to fit into a box or meet expectations, Justin decided to follow the path that felt right to him. He wasn't interested in chasing trends or imitating other artists. He wanted to make music that was true to his own style, just like Michael had advised him. This decision wasn't easy. The music industry was constantly changing, and there was always the pressure to sound like everyone else if you wanted to stay relevant. But Michael's advice about authenticity and staying grounded stuck with Justin. He poured his heart into the music, creating an album that was a reflection of his true self. From the opening track to the last, Justin wasn't just singing for the charts or the fans. He was creating something that felt real to him, something that he could stand behind with pride. The result? Justified was a huge success. Songs like Cry Me a River and Like I Love You not only topped the charts, but also marked Justin's arrival as a solo artist in his own right. The album wasn't just a commercial hit, it was an artistic statement. It was clear to everyone who listened that Justin wasn't trying to follow in anyone's footsteps. He was carving his own path, and it was paying off. But Justin's success wasn't just about the music. It was also about how he carried himself in the industry. While other artists were caught up in the drama and chaos of the entertainment world, Justin remained focused on what mattered most to him. He avoided getting sucked into controversies or distractions. Instead, he worked hard, stayed humble, and let his music speak for itself. He never forgot what Michael had said about being true to your vision, no matter how tempting it might be to go along with what everyone else was doing. As Justin continued to grow as an artist, the influence of Michael Jackson's mentorship remained ever present. When he began working on his second album, Future Sex, Love Sounds, he pushed himself even further. He experimented with new sounds and styles, refusing to be confined to one genre. The album was full of risks and innovations, and it paid off. Songs like Sexy Back and What Goes Around, Comes Around were unlike anything that had been heard before, and they cemented Justin's place in music history. But behind the success and the fame, there was always that underlying commitment to authenticity that Michael had instilled in him. Justin knew that he could never compromise who he was or what he believed in. He didn't want to be just another pop star. He wanted to be a true artist, someone whose music could stand the test of time. Even as his career reached new heights, Justin never forgot the lessons Michael had shared with him. Whenever he found himself facing a tough decision or grappling with the pressures of fame, he would think back to that conversation and remind himself of what truly mattered. Michael had taught him that staying grounded was key to longevity in the industry, and Justin took that lesson to heart every step of the way. The influence of Michael Jackson on Justin's career didn't just stop at the music. It also shaped how Justin approached his public persona. While many celebrities were caught up in the drama of tabloids and public feuds, Justin remained largely out of the spotlight for personal reasons. He focused on his craft and allowed his work to speak for itself. Of course, there were times when his personal life became the subject of media attention, but Justin never let that distract him from his ultimate goal: creating music that was meaningful and true to who he was. As time went on, Justin began to realize just how much of Michael's wisdom he had internalized. He wasn't just following the advice of a mentor. He was living it. He had learned to embrace the challenges, the highs and lows, the moments of doubt, and the moments of triumph, all while staying true to himself. Every step of his career, from his early days with NSYNC to his solo endeavors, had been guided by the powerful lessons that Michael Jackson had shared with him. It wasn't just about the music anymore, it was about building a legacy. Justin was no longer just a talented young artist trying to make a name for himself. He was an influential figure in the music industry, a role model for younger artists who looked up to him. And as he continued to evolve, he never lost sight of the importance of authenticity and artistic integrity. His music, his choices, and his actions all reflected the values that Michael had instilled in him that day. The influence of that one brief conversation, hidden away from the public eye, continued to shape Justin's career in ways that were far beyond what he could have ever imagined. Michael Jackson's mentorship wasn't just about practical advice on how to navigate the music industry. It was about guiding Justin to be the best version of himself, both as an artist and as a person. And as Justin's career flourished, he couldn't help but think about the impact that meeting had on him. He was living proof that Michael Jackson's guidance had changed the trajectory of his life forever. As Justin Timberlake's career grew and reached new heights, he often found himself looking back on the pivotal moments that had shaped him. Among all the milestones and accomplishments, one memory always stood out: his encounter with Michael Jackson, the legendary king of pop. That meeting had been more than just a chance encounter, it had been a turning point. The advice Michael gave him had changed the trajectory of his career, and Justin often reflected on how fortunate he had been to receive such valuable guidance at such a young age. What made this particular moment even more remarkable was that there was a private scene that had been captured on camera, one that was never released to the public. This was a moment that, though never seen by fans, was incredibly significant to both Justin and Michael. The footage was taken during a quiet part of their time together, after the initial greetings and brief conversations. It wasn't a moment designed for the spotlight or for the cameras. It was a genuine exchange between mentor and protege, a heartfelt conversation that would go on to influence Justin's entire approach to his career. Michael Jackson, always careful about protecting his private moments, was known for being reserved when it came to letting the world in on his personal life. He understood the pressures of fame better than anyone, and he had learned from experience that not everything needed to be shared with the public. And so, when the camera started rolling, Michael didn't try to perform or make a spectacle out of the situation. Instead, he turned to Justin with a calm, almost fatherly demeanor, as if he were offering words of wisdom to someone who was more than just a rising star, but someone who had the potential to change the world. The camera captured a rare, intimate moment. In the footage, Michael was speaking candidly about the importance of staying true to oneself in an industry that often tried to mold artists into something they weren't. He told Justin about the struggles he had faced early in his career, about the pressures to conform to expectations, and how he had almost lost himself in the process. Michael's words weren't just advice. They were a part of his own story, his own journey through the complicated world of fame. "Always remember," Michael said, looking directly at Justin, "the world will always try to tell you what to do, who to be, and how to act. But the true artists are the ones who stay true to themselves. The world will try to change you, but if you hold on to what makes you unique, you'll always stand out." Thanks for watching. It wasn't just the content of Michael's words that made this moment so special, it was the way he said them. Michael wasn't speaking from a place of ego or superiority. He wasn't offering Justin advice in a way that suggested he knew better than everyone else. Instead, he was sharing his own hard-earned wisdom in a way that felt like a quiet, personal conversation. There was no audience, no cameras, no pressure to perform. It was simply a mentor passing on his experience to someone he believed could carry the torch forward. For Justin, this moment was incredibly significant. As he listened to Michael, he could feel the weight of the words settling in. He had always admired Michael's music, his creativity, and his ability to captivate audiences. But now, Justin was beginning to see a different side of his idol, the man behind the music, the person who had faced the same struggles and doubts that he himself had experienced. It was in this quiet moment that Justin truly understood the importance of staying grounded and staying true to his artistic vision. The conversation didn't just revolve around music, though. Michael also spoke about the responsibility that came with fame and success. He told Justin that being an artist wasn't just about making music, it was about influencing culture, touching lives, and using your platform to do good in the world. Michael emphasized that with great success came great responsibility, and he urged Justin to use his voice wisely. "People will listen to you," Michael explained, "and with that comes a chance to make a real difference. Don't just focus on the fame, focus on the impact you can have." This was an eye-opening moment for Justin. At that point in his career, he was still navigating the challenges of fame and figuring out how to balance his personal life with his public persona. But Michael's words gave him a new perspective. He realized that being an artist wasn't just about chasing the spotlight or securing more records. It was about using his platform to inspire others, to create something that could live on beyond his own career. But the footage of this moment, the conversation between Michael and Justin, was never meant to be seen by the world. Michael had always been a private person, and although he had an undeniable connection with his fans, there were some things he chose to keep close to his heart. The lost footage, now locked away, wasn't released for a number of reasons. Some say it was because Michael didn't want to exploit their personal moment for the sake of publicity. Others believe that Michael wanted to ensure Justin's journey was something he could navigate on his own terms, without the added weight of being compared to the mentorship of a legend. Whatever the reason, the world never got to see this rare behind-the-scenes moment between two artists who had shared something far more meaningful than a casual conversation. But for Justin, that lost scene was something he would carry with him forever. The lessons Michael had imparted during their brief but impactful conversation shaped the way Justin approached his music, his career, and his life. Even though the footage would never be shared with the public, the influence of that moment was far-reaching. As Justin continued to grow in his career, he often thought back to that time with Michael. The mentorship he had received was more than just about learning how to navigate the music industry. It was about learning how to be a true artist, someone who could stay authentic in the face of overwhelming pressure and remain grounded while achieving success. Michael had passed on to him the tools to not only survive in the industry, but to thrive in a way that would set him apart from the rest. Although the world would never see that moment on camera, Justin knew its significance. He carried it with him every time he stepped on stage, every time he wrote a new song, and every time he made an important decision in his career. Michael Jackson's guidance wasn't just a fleeting piece of advice, it was a lasting influence that would continue to shape his path for years to come. And while fans may never get to see the footage, those who know the story of Justin Timberlake's rise to stardom understand that the influence of Michael Jackson was woven deeply into the fabric of his career. It was a lost scene, yes, but one that had an impact far beyond the cameras. The lessons Michael shared with Justin were not meant for public consumption. They were meant to be lived out, carried forward, and passed on in a way that would ensure Michael's legacy lived on in the music of the next generation. As the years passed, Justin Timberlake's career continued to evolve and soar. From the days of Time's NSYNC to his groundbreaking solo work, he became not only a household name, but also an artist who had a profound influence on the music world. The music industry, which had once seemed so vast and intimidating to the young Justin, had now become a place where he had carved out his own path. But as he stood in the spotlight, achieving success beyond what he had ever dreamed, there was one person he often thought about, the one who had helped guide him when he was still just starting out. That person was Michael Jackson. Even after all the years, the influence of that brief but significant meeting never left Justin. Michael's words had stuck with him. Stay true to yourself. Don't let the pressures of fame define you. And focus on the art. These lessons became the foundation upon which Justin built his career. In a world where the music industry was ever-changing, and the pressure to conform was always looming, Michael's advice helped Justin find his own voice, creating music that resonated with fans on a deeper level. As Justin's career took off, he began to realize just how much Michael's influence had shaped him. Not only as an artist, but as a person. Michael had taught him to push boundaries, to be innovative, and to never settle for mediocrity. With each new album, each new performance, Justin was reminded of the mentorship that had guided him through some of the toughest times in his life. But it wasn't just through his music that Michael's influence could be seen. Justin had grown into someone who believed in the power of using his platform for good, something Michael had strongly emphasized during their meeting. Michael had taught Justin that being an artist wasn't just about fame, it was about the impact you could make on the world, the way you could inspire and uplift others through your work. Justin didn't take this lesson lightly. As he grew older, he began to use his influence to advocate for causes he believed in, supporting charities, and using his voice to speak out on important issues. Just like Michael, Justin understood that his fame was a powerful tool, and he made sure to use it for the betterment of others. Whether it was helping raise money for disaster relief or standing up for social justice, Justin never forgot what Michael had taught him about the responsibility that came with being in the public eye. Through his music and actions, Justin was continuing Michael's legacy. Michael had shown him the importance of authenticity and staying true to oneself. And Justin made sure to carry that lesson forward. He was no longer just a young boy trying to figure out his place in the world of music. He had grown into an artist who was respected for his creativity, his integrity, and his ability to innovate. He had become a mentor himself, guiding younger artists just as Michael had guided him. In interviews, Justin would often reflect on the impact Michael had on his life. He spoke openly about how Michael had shaped his approach to music and how much he admired the king of pop, not just as an artist, but as a person. Justin often shared the story of their brief meeting, the conversation they had, and the advice Michael had given him. Even though the world would never get to see the footage of that intimate conversation, Justin made sure that Michael's wisdom lived on in his own actions and work. One of the most significant ways Michael's influence showed up in Justin's career was in the way he approached his artistry. Michael had always been known for his innovation, whether it was in his music, his performances, or his music videos. He had pushed the boundaries of what was possible, and Justin took that same mindset into his own work. From the start of his solo career, Justin had sought to do something new, to challenge the norms, and to create music that wasn't just trendy, but timeless. Songs like Sexy Back, with its futuristic beats, or Mirrors, with its emotional depth, reflected Justin's willingness to experiment and push the envelope in ways that Michael had done before him. Even in his live performances, Justin followed Michael's example. Michael had been a master of the stage, known for his incredible choreography, his presence, and his ability to connect with the audience. Justin, too, became known for his electrifying performances, often incorporating intricate dance routines and mesmerizing visuals. He understood that a performance wasn't just about singing, it was about creating an experience for the audience, making them feel something that would stay with them long after the show was over. Every time Justin stepped onto the stage, he was not only honoring Michael's legacy but also continuing it in his own unique way. As Justin continued to rise in his career, he began to see how his story mirrored Michael's in certain ways. Like Michael, Justin had started young, and like Michael, he had faced the challenges of growing up in the public eye. He knew the pressure, the scrutiny, and the constant demand for perfection. But he also understood the importance of staying grounded and remembering where it all began. One of the most poignant moments came when Justin was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2015. It was a moment of recognition, not just for his incredible success as a solo artist, but for his songwriting and his contributions to the music industry as a whole. As he stood at the podium, accepting the honor, he reflected on the people who had influenced him throughout his journey. Of course, he mentioned his family, his bandmates, and his friends. But he also took a moment to acknowledge the impact Michael Jackson had on his life and career. Justin spoke about how much Michael had meant to him and how his guidance had helped shape his path. Michael was someone who truly understood the music, Justin said. He knew how to push boundaries, how to create something that would stand the test of time, and he taught me the most important thing, to stay true to myself. It was a touching moment, not only for Justin, but for all of Michael's fans who had watched Justin grow and evolve into the artist he was today. Michael Jackson's influence wasn't just present in Justin's music, it was a part of him, a part of the artist he had become. Justin had long since stopped being the young boy who had met Michael Jackson in that studio. He was now a legend in his own right, a respected figure in the music world. And while he had achieved more than he had ever dreamed of, he never lost sight of the lessons that had helped him get there. Michael's legacy lived on in Justin's music, his performances, and his character. The advice Michael had given him all those years ago was the bedrock on which he built his success. Looking back, Justin knew how incredibly lucky he was to have had that moment with Michael. Not every artist gets to have a mentor like him, someone who truly cared, who took the time to share their wisdom, and who made an impact that would last a lifetime. Michael Jackson's guidance didn't just change Justin's career, it changed his life. And so, as Justin continued to make his mark on the world, he did so with the knowledge that the lessons Michael had imparted would stay with him forever. Michael's legacy had been passed on, not just through the music, but through the way Justin lived his life authentically, creatively, and with a deep understanding of the power of music to inspire and to change the world.